In Lak'ech Ala K'in. In Lak'ech Ala K'in. In Lak'ech Ala K'in. What's going on, my high vibrational expressions of God on earth? It's your boy, the way Rogers, a.k.a. Master Teacher 33. Today, brothers and sisters, heaven is in Lak'ech Ala K'in. When you are in heaven, as we're breaking down in this series, Heaven's Gate, if you haven't purchased the book and the 7-hour series, what you waiting on, boo-boo? Go to the website, masterteacher30.com. Click on the link that says donation. Make the one-time payment of 99 shekels. Only 99 shekels. That's $99. 99 shekels, and that gives you access to Heaven's Gate. So in Lak'ech Ala K'in is the over and understanding of, and my boy Billy Carson talks about this a lot as well. In Lak'ech Ala K'in is the over and understanding that is heaven. As we've been talking about inside the series, tonight we continue with part 4 of Lak'ech Ala K'in, as we reveal, explain, actually part 3, as we reveal, explain, illuminate, and simplify Heaven's Gate. So there's a lot of Christians who walk around and they're dumb as beep. The average mother beep has no beep over an understanding about Lak'ech Ala K'in. Because when you do tap into the frequency, wave, and vibration of the highest level on the planet, you wake up every day happy as beep. And there's no reverend, no doctor, and no mother beep that can interfere with your beep because you are in a whole nother beep. And the inability to understand that I am another you. If the brain could wrap around that frequency, all problems would cease to exist. Could you imagine if the world over and understood the frequency, wave, and vibration of Heaven's Gate? Could you imagine if every Christian, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, and everybody stepped into heaven? Could you imagine if you went on Facebook and social media with a mental disposition that is the vibration equivalent of God on earth would state in Lak'ech Ala K'in, which means I am another you and you are another me. It's a statement of unity and oneness and singularity. Could you imagine the world would change immediately? Because then no one could hate anyone because you would be hating yourself. If we could you imagine relationships? All relationships, there would be no divorce, there would be no issues. All problems would cease to exist if we all understood in Lak'ech Ala K'in. Unfortunately, the average Kibilan's brain cannot oscillate around that statement, as we all know. So the problem that we all are experiencing is a lack of Lak'ech Ala K'in. And it's very easy to tell because all you got to do is just look at how you treat your fellow man or your fellow wounded man. And again, because the culture and blah, 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 we all know this, we all should, and we do, we understand the problem. So it's, it's not rocket science. We all understand. But the thing that blows me away is when you get to this space of awareness, man, it's such a release. All the stress and the burdens of life is gone because now you realize, as we've been talking about in the series, and man, if you guys are not taking it, make sure that you join us tonight. It's 99 shekels, $99 for the book and the audio for the mindset of Lak'ech Ala K'in. Because at that level of the game, again, you operate from a place of wisdom and understanding. You understand that people are just another you. Now you realize that you are not ordained, you are not, quote unquote, gifted to be somebody else's God. You don't have power and authority over some other frequency, wave, and vibration because that frequency, wave, and vibration is you. So when you see other people as another you, you go back to the golden rule and you just ask yourself, okay, do I want whatever I'm doing to that other frequency done to me? When you ask that question, then you are totally relieved of all of the stress. It's like I was telling you guys about with my bonus son, dropped off at college, and then, after less than a week, man, he's like, this ain't for me, I'm ready to go home. Like, what did I do? Blah, blah, blah. Because football and life are exactly the same. When you go from being all world to just being another beep, there's no respect So it's like starting out, and life is about that. Life is about the ability to start over because nothing is guaranteed except change. So you ain't rich until you made a lot of money and lost all the money. You're not rich until you've been healthy and you got a disease and then you got rid of the disease. You ain't wise until you've been the smartest person in the room and then you go to another room and you're the dumbest person in the room. You ain't been in a relationship until your heart has been broken and the person that you put all your love and all of your energy into, they just rips your heart out and just totally disrespect you. That's when you are in a relationship. Nothing happens until you understand that there's two wings, but it's always one bird. Until you get to the space of understanding there's two wings, but there's only one bird. Nothing happens until you understand that statement. There's two wings, but it's only one bird. Now I gotta pause for the theatrical effect. It's very, 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 very important that we over and understand, my brothers and my sisters, because each and every person, you think these extremes of morality and good and bad and all that stuff is just polarity. It's just two sides of the same coin. And if you don't under and understand that, man, you start to treat the other wing like it's attached to another bird. And if you start to treat the other wing like it's attached to another bird, like you literally are destroying your own cells. Because it's only one bird. It's only one. Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is one. And so when the Helios Biblios tells us that, okay, wait a minute, we're all members of one frequency, one wave, one verb, and one vibration. It is this ideal of separation that causes all of the issues, all of the problems, because we really buy the narrative that we are different. So we have racism. We like, ooh, I'm black, I hate white, I have white, I hate black. And we don't really understand that, there's in the middle of black and white, there's just one body. There's many members. The Bible talks about that. There's many members, but there's only one body. Could you imagine if we lived in a world where every politician went on the stage and said, there's many members, but there's one body? Could you imagine how the world would change if that was the their narrative that what they were standing on? They was promoting one agenda, and that agenda is there's many members, but there is only one body. So if my head doesn't like my feet, my head is beep, because my head cannot get around without my feet. And if my feet don't like my head, my feet is beep, because my feet get its instructions to move for my head. So my feet and my head, they might want to sit down and have a conversation so that way they can get along. And because each and every person, we don't really understand that each of us are a part of this one frequency, this one wave, this one verb, this one vibration. And it is, I've been in that state. I understand that, man. It's I used to have a lot of anger, a lot of hate, like how you guys know, and now I was able to get rid of all my anger and all of my hate by living in heaven. That's why I got here. I got here because I had to, and it was a long process because I didn't, I had ego and arrogant, cocky, and just like everybody else. And it wasn't until I got to this space of understanding that that woman that was abusing me when I was a kid, she was abused too. What was her childhood like? I remember the first time I asked my dad that question, like, what was my grandfather? What was your father like? And my father started telling me how his father would tie him to a tree and beat him with a wet rope. And I thought about, man, that's the same thing that the slave masters used to do to the slaves. And then I talked to my father, and he said that his grandfather, his father's father, grew up on a plantation. And then that's when I realized, like, damn. So my father's father was a slave. So that's 1, 2, 3. I'm only 2 generations removed, really, from slavery. And when I talked to my father, I was able to understand that if I put myself in my father's shoes, I could understand my father. Now, all the anger, all the hate, all the animosity that I had toward my father was gone instantly. And in my counseling and everything that I do, the first thing that I do is I put myself in whoever person I'm talking to, I put myself in their shoes. And I ask myself, what would it be like to be that person and have those life experiences that I would think the exact same thing? And it's so easy when you go through life and you over and understand that if you have something called sympathy and empathy, if you have the ability to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, if you could get out of your own way in Lak'ech Ala K'in, when you over and understand that you are another me and I am another you. You just have a different set of experiences than I do. You just in a different skin. You may be a different gender. But boo-boo, at the end of the day, we are still the mother beep, same frequency. And the inability to wrap your brain around that is the only reason why most Negroes and non-Negroes are not in heaven. You see, heaven is a high vibrational space of wisdom and understanding. Heaven is a place where you understand that we are all members and there's just one body. Heaven is a place where you understand that yes, there's two wings, but there's still only one bird. And if the left wing fights the right wing, then both wings are the bird who cannot fly. And once you wrap your brain around that statement, you are in a space, and when you get to this level of understanding, you realize there ain't too many people up here. Because now you have no problem. I never have a problem in my relationship. Because when me and my wife disagree, the first thing as I do is I put myself in her shoes. And I realized that, of course she's overprotective. She does too much of this. But then her son was born, my bonus son was born gray and without a pulse. She was told that she could never have children. And all of the stuff that she went through to give birth to both of my bonus, my stepkids or my, extensions that I've inherited, which has been an honor and a privilege to be able to exude the energy that they need to be successful in life. Just to be a part. So it's easy for me to understand, okay, now I understand why my wife is so overprotective of her kids, because if you've been told all your life that you're not going to have something, and once you get it, of course, you want to protect it. You want to keep it. But if you don't put yourself, if I don't put my, then I'm gonna say, well, why do you? I'm gonna do. How come? And so I become very dogmatic because I have a lack of sympathy and a lack of empathy. But when I realize that my wife is another me, and she's another, and I'm another her, and she's another me. So everybody on the call, we are all one. We're all the same. There would be no problems on earth. There would be no racism. There'd be no classism. There'd be no gentrification. There'd be none of the ills and none of the problems that exist in the world today would exist. So it's the leaders of this world. They know the same thing that you know. They know the same thing, but they have chosen, just like you and I have a choice. Today you have a choice to step out of hell into heaven. You can step out of hell into heaven today. All you got to do is the same thing I do every day. In Lak'ech Ala K'in. When you understand that in Lak'ech Ala K'in is another way of saying that, hey, me and you are one. I am another you. It also means that I am you and you are me. This is a law, brothers and sisters, of unity and oneness. The Bible says the same thing. When you've seen me, you've seen the Father. So everything I say when Christians get their panties in a wad, because they are looking at it from division. They are looking at it because they think that we are separated from each other. So it's a lack of unity and a lack of oneness. So heaven is unity and oneness. So heaven's gate, you can't go through the gate of heaven. That's what the Bible says. It's easier for a rich man to enter into heaven or go through the eye, or is it for a camel to go through an eye of a needle? What does that mean? It's easier for a camel to go through an eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to enter into heaven. Because a rich man believes that his money separates him from everybody else. So it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to get into heaven. Because a rich man's money separates him from everybody else. So he buys fancy houses, he lives in gated communities. All rich people that I know are afraid to do what I do. So if I get in my bed and drive to the east side, I ain't scarred because I'm from the east side. There ain't no difference in me. The only difference is they think that I think I'm better. So I got to go over and let them know that, nigga, I ain't no better than you. I just made different choices and decisions than you. But you have the same opportunity to make different choices and different decisions to move you in the direction of your God-given destiny. It is a lack of gnosis and a lack of knowledge that causes the division and causes the separation, exactly like the Helios Biblio said, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. That is the only reason there is this division. There is the only reason that there is separation. There is the only reason that you live in hell, not you personally, but people you know, may live in hell, because hell is just a mindset that says that there's an obstacle is between me and my goals. Heaven is a mindset that says that I'm on the other side of this obstacle, because this obstacle is an extension of my mental disposition. This obstacle is an extension of my mental disposition. This obstacle is an extension of my mental disposition. This obstacle is an extension of my mental disposition. So there is no such thing as what you call hell. There's a mental disposition that causes division, that causes separation. So there is no ability for us to connect and operate in unity because of a lack of Lak'ech Ala K'in. So Lak'ech Ala K'in is this over understanding that, okay, I'm you and you me. So every morning I wake up, when me and the wife gets into a heated discussion, the first thing I tell myself is I am her and she is me. So I put myself in her shoes. And then from her perspective, I'm like, oh, okay. That's why she says, believes, and feels. If I have a problem with my kids, I put my kids in their shoes. And I ask myself, oh, that's why they have that feeling. That's why they have that perception. Because that feeling creates the field, and the field creates what is real. So when I go in to their brain, I connect. When you match, you merge. So what we're talking about in Heaven's Gate is the ability for you to go through the gate, through the pineal gland, and to connect with another person's reticular activating system. And then when a higher ranking frequency connects with a lower ranking frequency, it elevates the frequency. A lower ranking frequency cannot or disempower a higher ranking frequency. Not possible. And it's interesting because I didn't understand that until I got to this level. Now, it's so easy to see because based upon the laws of physics. So laws of physics state that a higher ranking frequency can look down into a lower ranking frequency, but a lower ranking frequency cannot look up to a higher ranking frequency. So if you're living in polarity, if you're living in 2D, you cannot go up to 3D. But if you're in 3D, you can drop down to 2D and you can drop down. So you can't go up, but you can go up, you can go down. So if you're at the heaven, you can go down, like Jesus did when he went down to hell. He took the keys of death and the grave. And that's when he said, death, where is your victory? And grave, where is your sting? You should be doing the same thing. You should have the keys of death and the grave in your pocket. Because you realize that death in the grave is a lower vibration that states there is such a thing as entropy. There is such a thing as decay. But there's only such a thing because of word magic. It only exists because you believe that it exists. So when we broke down last night in part 2 of over and understanding heaven, now you know that heaven is a mental disposition that is maintained that creates a reticular activating system. Without that belief system, then you cannot be separated from source unless you have a belief that says that you are. So once you understand that there's two wings but there's only one bird, once you understand that you are me and I am you, now you know that reality is mental. Now you understand that you make the rules. Now you understand that needing means lack. Needing means absence. Your desire is the middleman. It separates you from God. When you realize the thing that you want is causing the division because the thing that you want, you already got. It is something that makes you think you don't got what you think that you don't got. So to be rich, you got to be rich. To be healthy, you got to be healthy. To be wise, you got to be wise. To be in a great relationship, you got to be in a great relationship. So I know there's no division. So when division shows up, I just remove it. Because I put myself in the place of the person who has the division. Now, the place of the person, they may actually, quote unquote, hate you because they don't understand you. People hate what they don't understand. Whenever I bump into somebody that don't like me, I know that they don't understand me. You cannot understand me and dislike me. I cannot understand you and dislike you. So I know if I'm talking to somebody and they rubbing me the wrong way, I have not taken the time to put myself in their shoes. I'm not oscillating and vibrating according to the very rules that I espouse. And so the moment that any time something happens in my brain, I immediately go, in Lak'ech Ala K'in. In Lak'ech Ala K'in. In Lak'ech Ala K'in. I am you and you are me. I am another you. You are another me. So anything I feel about you is an indication of what I'm failing to see in me. And once I get to that level of understanding, that's heaven. Bam, I immediately walk out of hell, obstacle, into heaven, solutions. So I'm always able to find a solution to any problem, no matter what the problem. It is so, I can't even express it, man. I don't even know. It's such a powerful feeling that is a dangerous feeling because you draw the enemy. The enemy doesn't like people whose happiness is not attached to something outside of them. And so when you operate in the open understanding that I am another you and you are another me, you are in Lak'ech Ala K'in. When you are in Lak'ech Ala K'in, then you are operating in heaven. The gate of heaven opens up. Now there is no such thing as hell. There is no such thing as opposition. There is no such thing as a problem. There is no such thing as sickness. There is no such thing. So all of this stuff goes away. There's only one frequency, one wave, and one verb, and one vibration. All problems is a misunderstanding of that one frequency, that one breath, that one vibration that contains three overstandings. 3 in 1. What are the 3? The philosophy of alchemy, which is called doctrine. Then the science of alchemy, which is called principles, and then the metaphysics or the art of alchemy, which is called implementation. So once you understand there's a doctrine that has principles that allows you to implement or to apply or to take massive action. So we got to go back. All problems stem from a lack of doctrine, a lack of proper knowledge, exactly like it says in the Bible in Hosea chapter 4, verse 6. So when you get into Lak'ech Ala K'in, you destroy the lack of knowledge because now you literally are in heaven. You literally are in a space where I am God and God is me. So when you get to this level, there is no devil. I am God. I'm nothing else. I am God and God is me. So when Jesus said, when you have seen me, you have seen the Father. Why do you keep looking? In Lak'ech Ala K'in, the inability for us to operate on that level is why we experience things called devil. Now, I drop down in order to teach, but I don't live there. It's like I go down, I get the fuck out of there as soon as possible. Because it's very interesting when you talk to people who can't see. That means that, remember, if I don't like you, that means I don't understand you. And if I don't understand you, that means I don't understand me. So when I sit down and I talk to anybody, I like confrontations now. I used to hate confrontations. Because I always thought that the confrontation was outside of me. I used to think people outside of me, they just didn't understand me. But in heaven, you realize that people outside of you has nothing to do with how they understand you. It's how they understand themselves. So all problems are an extension of the self. So people project onto you what they're unable to process inside of themselves. So it's like somebody vomiting on you. So they're sick. But why are they sick? We fear what we don't understand. But why don't we understand it? Well, we have religion. We have a collective consciousness. But that collective consciousness lacks the ability to step into heaven. So when Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane, he said the same thing. He was in a place that he's like, take this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but your will be done. So he understood that, okay, Source must have a bigger plan. And that plan needs me to expand my consciousness to a in Lak'ech Ala K'in. So when you in Lak'ech Ala K'in, you are now in a space where you are in heaven. So heaven is a space where I am another you, and you are another me. Heaven is a place of unity and oneness. Heaven is a place of singularity. Heaven is a place where you literally step into a feeling where the hair on the back of your neck stand up, because now you can see the field. Now you're at the highest level. You're like an eagle and you flying high, and you can look down. And when you look down, you see all the people scurrying around. You see people that are happy, but their happiness is based upon something outside of the self, which is a violation of rule number 1 of the 7 rules of heaven that we started talking about last night. So when you understand the 7 rules of heaven, you cannot no longer feel the things that are not real. Now, it's like when I was talking to the wife last night, and I was explaining and expressing to her, the reason why Alec wants to come home. He just got to college, and he's overwhelmed, and he's like, don't tell my mom, but I need to talk to you. And I'm talking to him, and I said, son, what's going on? And he's expressing to me, and I told him, and I told his mom months ago that this was going to happen. Because it happened to me, happened to my brother, happened to everybody that I know. When I got to boot camp, dudes started yelling at me. I felt hard, like I want to go home. So if you have the option to go home, see, I didn't have the option to go home because I didn't have a home to go to. And I told him this was going to happen. But his mother, she's a woman. She gave birth to him. She has a connection that wants to do what? Safe, coddle. So he knows that. But I know that too. So the goal is, once you start running, you are always running because you're going to set up a pattern. So sure, you can come home, but when you come home, what's you got to do? Same shit you got to do up there. Instead of them yelling at you, I'm going to be yelling at you. I tell the trash. Do this. So you want to stay here and go work at McDonald's? Then the military is an option. Okay, that's great. I was in the military. So you go into the military, what do you think they're going to do to you in the military? Everybody has, quote unquote, a supervisor. If you get a job, somebody is going to be telling you what to do. I don't care where you go, there's always somebody telling you, hey, go pick up that box, go do this. Everybody has a supervisor. And so it's interesting because everybody has to go through the process. Everybody goes through that process differently. But when you've been through the process already, now you understand the feelings. So when I start explaining to him what he's feeling and why he's feeling it, the light bulb, I can see a little eye start to percolate, like, oh, snap. So he do know what the beep he's talking about. The reason I know what I'm talking about because I've already been through that experience. So heaven is the ability to connect with another person through empathy and sympathy by putting yourself in their shoes. But you cannot put yourself in their shoes if if you haven't been there. I cannot relate to a lot of people. There are some people who are, like I talk about all the time, drug addicts. We got a family member who's on crystal meth. So when I talk to that family member on crystal meth, I extend unconditional love because I do not understand what it's like to be on crystal meth. So I found somebody else who was on crystal meth, and they're not on it anymore. And I defer when it comes to the intimate feelings of being on crystal meth. I don't know what it's like. But what I do know, I know what it's like to be a human being, which is a god in a dirt suit. So from that space, I understand that all problems stem from a lack of a proper self-concept. Your concept of yourself is too small. It is too limited. You're not in heaven. You're not thinking from a mental place where all your desires are already fulfilled. You are violating what we're going to be breaking down is it tonight or tomorrow night? Well, anyway, you're violating one of the 7 laws of heaven, which states you cannot have what you need. Because in heaven, there are no needs. You have been given everything that you need for life. So the ideal kicks you out of heaven. Remember, the war in heaven was caused because if you read inside of the Epic of Gilgamesh or the Lost Book of Enki that I sent you guys, it states that there was no longer a place found for them. So Michael raised war against Lucifer because there was no longer a place. How come? He left his place, his first estate, which is singularity, oneness with source. So you got a place. So problems are just like in heaven. You get kicked out of heaven when you decide, I don't want to do what I'm designed and gifted to do. I know that I'm for me, I'm a 336. So if I say, anytime I don't and I stop being a 336, bam, I get kicked out of heaven, I experience a problem. Problems mean you lost your place. Problems mean you are Jude 6. Problems mean that you are fallen in frequency. Problems mean that you took your eyes off the prize. Problems mean that you decided to be someone else other than decide to be the self. So source code divided himself into a bunch of little pieces to experience this thing that we call life. And you decide that I don't want to be the piece. I don't want to be the particle. I don't want to play the part or the role of a character that I've been assigned. I want to be like the Most High. I want to sit on the side of the mark. Heaven means you decide to be something that you are not designed and gifted to be. That when you get booted out of heaven. So how do you get back into heaven? You get back into heaven by going back to your God-given destiny and pick up your cross and follow source. Your cross is your beliefs. So you got a belief that says, I am not blank. When God says, yes, you are, you say, no, I'm not. God says, yes, you are. You said, no, you're not. So you're thinking through too small of yourself. Not you personally, but, people you know. How do I know? You cannot experience anything other than love, joy, peace, gentleness, meekness, self-control in the midst of extreme poverty. Like I was talking to my boy, Brother Mitch, and I was telling them, like, where I am at, everybody would be freaked out, like, what, and I'm in a place of love, joy, peace, gentleness, meekness, and self-control. How come? Well, I'm in my position. What is my position? My position is understanding that an offer is an opportunity. So when I make an offer, like I did, a couple of days ago, I made you guys an offer. An offer is an opportunity. Some people do not need the opportunity that I am offering. So the opportunity to take part in this series called Heaven's Gate is an opportunity. That's what an offer is. Some people don't need that. Like, I can go to, the North Pole and offer ice cubes to Eskimos. I won't make very many sales because they don't need that opportunity. So my job is to do what? To take my opportunity and make an offer to the people that can benefit from the opportunity. That's your job. So you are designed to come and create opportunities in the form of an offer for the people that have a perceived need, to show them that that need is a lie. It's an obstacle that's produced by a reticular activating system called a belief. So I'm going to provide you with a product, service, or information to remove that belief system out of your reticular activating system so you can see, oh, I already got it. So then you say, oh, okay, Doc, thank you. I don't need, because I never did. I just brought what T.D. Jakes was selling instead of what God designed. And so once you get to a space of understanding that everybody on this planet, we're just here to remind us of the significance of us. The same thing that Jesus said, the things I have done, you shall do, and even greater things. So Jesus is our elder brother. He's the firstborn of many brethren. That's what it says in the Bible. He's the first of many. Who the other many? That be you, boo. So you are part of source code. You are an extension of God on earth. But you brought a narrative like I did. All my problems went away when I let go. So I have way less. See, you're trying to put on more. No, that's not how it works. You got to let go. Let go of all of your beliefs. When you let go of your belief system, what happens? You see that, damn, I'm the vibrational equivalent of God on earth. What does that mean, though? That means that you can now see through, because where are you at? Mentally. Remember law number 1 of the 7 laws of heaven. Heaven is a mental place, it's not a physical place. So we read Matthew 6:33. We broke it down. We broke down and we at least introduced John 3:27. So everything comes from heaven, because you got to seek heaven first. Because Matthew 6:33 says, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven. So you got to go to heaven first, because that's what it says in John 3:27. So once you go to heaven, heaven removes your mental space that has been undeveloped. Now when you get to heaven, source code allows you to establish your own reticular activating system, which is the governor. So you are supposed to do what it says in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, 27, and 28. Not TD Jakes, not Creflo Dollar. So what I'm telling my son is like, now you are of age. You no longer need a teacher. You had need of a teacher. Now you are able to teach. So what does that mean? That means you tap into your own unique skills. So I asked them, I was like, did y'all do the test first thing? You got to college, they got all the football players together. And he's telling me that they like I knew. So what place did you come in? Well, he was the second out of 150, actually more than that, 178 kids. Second in bench, number 1 in squat. So he's pretty much the cream of the crop. But he's in a very new environment. So he's homesick. Of course he's going to be homesick. But he don't know, because he ain't never went. This is his first time. But I've done it many, many times. So what is my job? Is to speak life. That's your job. You're going to bump into people that they're not at the level that you're at. So your job is to, hey, calm down. Let me tell you what's going to happen. So you're going to feel this, because now you're in a place where you got a bunch of other kids who were the best at their high school. Now you're in a university. And what would happen if he went to the University of Georgia or University of Alabama or some big time D1 school? It would have been even worse, because of what? The level of competition. What would have happened instead of him being in the top 3? What if he was been in the bottom 3? What does that do to the ego? Because of the 3 things that we all do as humans that we shouldn't. Because we're gods. We're not humans. We're gods having a human experience. We're not humans having a God experience. So what does that mean? Well, the number 1 mistake that everybody makes is you have a perception. You believe something that is not necessarily true. And then we live our life based upon, conditions. So what does that mean, though? Well, I'm happy if. That's a condition. I'm married to you if. That's a condition. What is a condition? A condition is a requirement that must be met by a person, place, or thing outside of you. Well, I thought we were supposed to love each other unconditionally. Oh, well, that perception has not been taught. So in heaven, you got to change your perception. In heaven, you got to let go of your conditions. And in heaven, you got to let go of your dependencies. So you cannot be dependent upon TD Jakes or Creflo Dollar or Joel Osteen. You cannot be, in heaven, you are a single standing column of waves that are formed into a particle. But you still a wave. You just have condensed and dumbed yourself down into a particle. So when you amp yourself back up, you are no longer congealed light. So blood is congealed light. Blood is dumbed down sound and light. So when you speed up your blood, you activate your plasma. Do you remember in Jupiter Center, I was telling you guys about, they bathe in plasma. So I used to always wonder when I used to donate plasma when I was homeless. They gave me back the blood, but they kept the plasma. And it looked just like in the movie Jupiter Ascending. So they can extend their age. And then I saw that video I was telling you guys where this guy who was in his I think he said he was 35 or 40, gave his plasma to his father, who was like 70 or 80, and it reduced his age by 25 years. Then the guy who was 35 or 40, he took his son's plasma, who was like 15 or 16, and it reduced his age by 25 years. So plasma, just like in the movies, reduces your age. That's why they donate plasma. And all this year, they told me, oh, it's for burn victims. Bull. It's for the dominant culture. Just like in the movies. Now, the science is in. Don't believe me. Go to YouTube and type in plasma rejuvenation. The dominant culture, they inject that shit into their veins, along with other things. We're not even getting into the fetal tissue and all of this stuff. So what am I saying? Well, you are not designed by God to experience this thing. Well, what does that mean, though? Do you guys know that the stuff that they spraying in the air, especially now, they, remember it used to be called contrails, it's called chemtrails. Well, the aluminum and the barium, the BA, barium, and the AL, aluminum, so that's why it's BAAL. You know what that does to the body? So now they're finding out that, number one, it causes kidney failure. So there's a lot of people doing a lot of things right. You listen to me doing everything wrong. You just live in a city where they are spraying chemtrails in the air and it's fucking up your kidneys. Now remember, I got all the proof, all the videos, and there's this lady talking about it. I've been knowing it, but I didn't realize. You know that Alzheimer's never didn't exist until like the last 25 years, and it primarily only exists here in the United States. So Alzheimer's and dementia are recent diseases. They just come up because of the amount of chemtrails, because what's in the chemtrails, that number one, it messes up your kidneys, and number two, it messes up your ability to use what we call reason and logic. So therefore, you become very very sheeple. And whether they spray the chemtrails at primarily in the major cities. So if you live in a big, huge city, the chances of your kidneys being blown out, and the chances of you becoming, as you age, you forget your keys more often, and you forget people's birthdays and shit. It ain't you doing everything right. But the dominant culture is making sure that you are not dominant. And so how do I find out all of this stuff? Why does all of this information come to me? All I do is set my intent. And I set my intent, and what I set, remember, this is heaven. This is how you structure your reality with your mentality. I don't go conjure up. I don't try to manipulate nobody. I just make offers, which are nothing but opportunities. Some people will take advantage of the opportunity. Some people will not. But I'm able to connect with Source so I can find a solution to all obstacles that I experience in my life. And the obstacle doesn't even exist while it exists. What does that mean? Well, I'm in a mental place where I'm wealthy, healthy, wise, and my toes are curled. I'm already there. So I'm already in heaven. So if something pops up that says, come down from heaven, I'm like, nah, I'm good. So I refuse to participate in 3D reality. I refuse. I only live in 9T. I don't hang out with 3D. So 3D, I see it, I'm aware of it, and then I repent. Like I told you guys, I renounce. Like I told you guys, and then I replace. Y'all remember the 3 R's that we broke down already? So I repent, but it's not the biblical definition of the word repent. Repent means return back to heaven. Renounce. Renounce means that I see 3D, I turn my back on 3D, and I replace 3D with 9T. If you do that shit, I guarantee your whole life will change today. You're not repenting, you're not renouncing, and you're not replacing. Not you personally, but people you know. So my brothers and my sisters, in conclusion, let me make sure that you understand, because heaven is a damn beautiful place. I highly recommend that you have vibration like keep it out, get your ass up to heaven as soon as possible, aka yesterday. If you didn't wake up this morning in heaven, I mean, you could be dead broke. You could go to the doctor and they tell you got 30 days to live. Your boo-boo said, I got me a new boo-boo. None of that shit matters, because your perception is not based upon conditions that makes you dependent upon another Negro or non-Negro. Now, you are the vibrational equivalent of God. God is all-knowing, all-power, all-present, all-simple, all-loving. At that space, now you are operating on a frequency on a wave of vibration that is called by my boy Billy Carson. In Lak'ech Ala K'in. In Lak'ech Ala K'in, that's a Mayan term that means I am you. You are me. Out of the biblical term, when you've seen me, you've seen the Father. I am the Father, and the Father is me. Me and the Father is one. But then we got to replace the Father with Tiamat. We got to replace the Father with the dragon soul. We got to replace it. I don't know when I'm going to do this series. It's going to be an advanced series. And when I get enough, high vibrational females that's willing to tap into their true Tiamat dragon soul and go through and over and understand what I've been expressing, exposing, and expanding with the Goddess Boot Camp. Man, ladies, when y'all finally wake up, not that you are not woke, but get to the space of making it okay for you to be loud, disrespectful. All the shit that most black women get demonized for is H-A-M-A, Harmon. Strong Concordance number H1949. Strong Concordance number H1993. It means to disturb. It means to disrupt. It means to destroy. It means to break. It means to crush. It means to trouble. It means to vex. I've been telling you guys this for a very, very long time. In the ancient text, it's called Tehom, or it's called Tamtu, or it's called in the Akkadian Tamu, Tiamat. So Tiamat in the Hymno Elish is the dragon soul, the soul of the dragon that's usually found in a melanated body. Oh yeah, they lied to you. So we got to replace the patriarchal with the original, the matriarchal. Now I know, for us it's gender, and we thinking, peckers and ovaries and all of that stuff. We need to go higher back to her song, or what is called her song. It's the prehistoric goddess culture that was worshipped, if you want to use that term, before it was tainted and destroyed by his story. The his, not his, but his. The snake was demonized, and that when it became patriarchal. So we live in a patriarchal perspective instead of a matriarchal perspective. It is the embodiment of what we call evil, which is the Ouroboros, or aka chaos. So the 5-headed dragon is demonized by the patriarchal society that's established on the papal crest. The dominant culture knew that when they replaced Tiamat with Marduk, they were establishing a patriarchal society. So when you start and you enter, quote unquote, a mindset with a patriarchal perspective, you already beep. You must enter heaven with a matriarchal disposition. You must be in tune with mater or mother or matter. You must begin the process of contemplation from a feminine perspective. So before you imagine anything, visualize anything, or try to create anything, you have to see the world through the eyes of Source, which is the eyes of what we call female, which is creativity and imagination. We call it love and compassion. But feminine energy is creativity and imagination. My brothers and my sisters, join me in heaven. Man, I love y'all. Y'all know ain't nothing y'all can do about it. We continue with part 3 of the book, Heaven's Gate, tonight. Make sure you join me. God bless.